warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and hi, my name is EZZANI binti Muhammad SABRI. My matric number is 261536 and my supervisor is Dr. Rushani binti Hashim. Welcome to my presentation. So, today I'm going to present my FYP, which is Factors Affecting UUM Student E-Waste Management. Okay, firstly we start with the introduction. So, what is e-waste? The most frequently accepted definition of e-waste originates from an EU directive. It is defined as electrical or electronic equipment waste that includes all components, sub-assemblies and consumables that were part of product when it was discarded. Next is the problem statement. I bet you must be wondering what makes the researcher want to do this study and what is the problem that inspired this project. Firstly, in today's world, electronic device has become a necessity. However, the current methods of producing, consuming and disposing of e-waste are ineffective. Plus, many consumers do not dispose electronic properly, and as such, most electronic gadgets end up in landfills. Secondly, e-waste is becoming common among students because instead of repairing them, they throw away and replace the broken electronic. According to the data from United Nations University, they estimate that the world brings about 53.6 million metric tons of e-waste in 2009, and that number will increase as electronic became more accessible around the world. Thirdly, another issue is most students are not familiar with how to manage electronic waste properly. Based on an article from UNU, only 70% of e-waste was recycled sustainably in 2009, which is mean 83% of electronic waste generated in 2009 is disposed improperly and has the potential to be dumped into landfills where it can leak harmful toxins into the earth. So based on this data, it showed that this study should be conducted to identify what factors affecting UUM student e-waste management. By knowing the factors of e-waste management among students can help in reducing environmental pollution and also human health. Next is objective. So what needs to be achieved in this project? The aim of this study is to investigate factors affecting UUM student e-waste practice. There are three objectives, and the first one is to identify factors affecting UUM student e-waste management, which is the practice of UUM student towards waste. Secondly, to investigate the level of e-waste management practice among UUM students. And thirdly, is to examine the relationship between the factors and UUM student e-waste practice. And then we go to the chapter 2, which is literature review. So what is happened before? Is there any similar case to this project? Or what is happened to this world? If we compare both data from table and figure here, we can see that in 2019-2012, the amount of e-waste generated is decreased. But in this figure, which is from 2006, DOE predict that the amount will continue to increase in 2025. According to a study conducted by the DOE Malaysia, is expected to generate 24.5 million units of e-waste by 2025. As we can see, figures 2.3 here is a data screenshot from the Global E-Waste Monitor 2020. It shows that every year the world generates about 2 metric tons e-waste and is predicted to increase to 74.7 metric tons e-waste in 2030. There are three main types of e-waste. As for this research, it only focuses for University Utara Malaysia students. So obviously, students only have information technology and telecommunication equipment such as smartphone, laptops or PC and so on. There is two factors that identify, which is knowledge and attitude. Knowledge is important because it forms the basis of understanding an issue. According to Secho 2007, knowledge and mental ability can help a person to perform responsibility well. Meanwhile, attitude is also seen among the factors that influence a person's intention to act, according to Bar 2007. Next is chapter 3, which is methodology. So in this researcher is using quantitative method. To perform this study, data was acquired through a survey of UUM students. The survey was conducted by delivering an online questionnaire to a 300 sample of students was collected. The participant was chosen from the sampling frame list. According to the sample size chart developed by Krejci and Morgan, about 300 students will be subjected to online questionnaire survey. Each construct-related item was scored on 5-point Likert scale, ranging from strongly disagree, which is 1, to strongly disagree, which is 5. For secondary data, the collection of publication materials such as journals, book, official website, scholarly writing, and related article about e-waste used to obtain data for the study. After collecting data from all of the participants, the data will be analysed once. In the study, researcher will using SPSS. Next is reliability test. This study used the Cronbach alpha model as the measurement reliability. Cronbach alpha value can be interpreted as in the table here. This test was performed among UUM students randomly, where a total of 40 UUM students were involved. For the reliability analysis, the researcher found out that the Cronbach alpha independent variable, which is practice, was less than 0.70, but the independent variable, which is knowledge, it is 0.831 and attitude 0.798. These two variables have a high Cronbach alpha of 0.60 and above. A Cronbach alpha value more than 0.70 is indicative the validity of the data, and through the result of the pilot test performed, it showed that the study the question conducted are valid to do. Meanwhile, a Cronbach alpha more than 0.60 is indicates the variable is acceptable. Next is chapter 4, which is data analysis. So for the descriptive analysis, the percentage for male student is 24%, while for female student is 76%. Next is table show the level of knowledge of UUM student on e-waste. Based on this table, there are 5 items listed. The results show that the mean value recorded, the highest value is K3, which is 3.35, standard deviation of 9, while the mean value is recorded, the lowest number is K5, which is 3.01, standard deviation of 1.192. In the table, the attitude that show the mean value, the highest is I am concerned about the negative effect of e-waste to the environment and human health, where the mean value recorded is 4.31, standard deviation of 0.724. Meanwhile, table 4.4, the practice of UUM student who show the highest mean value is I give out my electronic waste to scrap collector, where the mean value recorded was at 3.54, standard deviation 1.119. For inference analysis, the researcher employs Pearson correlation test analysis in this part. The first hypothesis, which is there is a significant relationship between knowledge and level of student e-waste management, which is practice. And as is shown in this table, it is clearly shown that there is a significant positive relationship between knowledge and practice variable. The Pearson coefficient R is equal to 0.338 and the value of P is 0.00, which is less than 0.01. It is mean that these two variables have a relationship. For the second hypothesis, which is there is a significant relationship between attitude and level of student e-waste management. So the result of this study of this hypothesis clearly proved that there is a no significant relationship between attitude and practice variable. The value of the coefficient Pearson R is 0.191, while the value of P is 0.001, which is equal to 0.01. This means that there is no relationship between these two variables. So next is multiple regression test. In this study, the dependent variable is practice, while the other variable are the independent variable. Result of the regression can be shown in this table. The table shows that the sum of the two independent variables can give description of 11.4% variance adjusted R square against practice R square equal to 0.120. All surviving variables have a strong correlation to description of its impact to the UUM student e-waste practice. So next for the coefficient, the table above show that the sign of a regression coefficient indicates whether each independent variable is associated with the dependent variable in a positive or negative way. A positive coefficient indicates that as the independent variable value rise, the dependent variable mean rise as well. The highest beta value is knowledge. This indicates that the knowledge variable has a strong impact when compared to the other independent variable in the study. The highest beta value of knowledge is where beta value equal to 0.285 and significant value is equal to 0, which is shown that it's highly significant. Meanwhile, if you look at the independent variable attitude, it has no significance with the value of significant, since the value is equivalent to 0.169. In conclusion, the hypothesis for attitude is simply rejected and not supported. Meanwhile, hypothesis for independent variable, knowledge, is accepted and supported. So next we'll go to chapter 5. In this chapter, researcher will be discussed on the objective of this study and the recommendation that needed. The first objective is to identify factors affecting UEM student e-waste management, which is practice. The knowledge a person possesses has an impact on their practice and behavior. The result of this study clearly proved that there is a significant positive relationship between the knowledge variable with practice indicates there is a correlation between these two variables. The highest mean value is on the third question item, which is I know the environmental risk due to e-waste. This mean value explains that the question indicators constructed represent the level of knowledge of UEM student on e-waste. Most respondents were knowledgeable about e-waste management, especially when it comes to disposal and handling processes. This outcome is consistent with a past research in which most consumers were aware and have some knowledge about e-waste management from Mishra, Shamanan and Kanan in 2007. The second objective is to what extent do UEM students manage their e-waste. As we can see in the table here, the mean value for the third item, which is I dump my electronic waste in any available place, is at value of 2.90 out of 5 Likert scale, which is quite low. This means that the majority of UEM students did not throw garbage whenever it is available. Meanwhile, item number 2, I reuse electronic trash part, has a mean rating of 3.16 out of 5 on the Likert scale. We can assume that from this that the majority of UEM students recycle their e-waste. For the third objective, so according to the regression table, the independent variable is knowledge, which is the primary factors influencing UEM student e-waste management, which is practice. So it has the regression coefficient of 0.285. So this is show that the highest UEM student knowledge about e-waste, the better the practice about e-waste being implemented by the student. Besides, it followed by attitude, which are the reason affecting UEM student e-waste management, which is practice. Furthermore, using those two independent variables, the beta values standardized coefficient analyze which independent variables are the most and least influential to the UEM student e-waste management. Okay, so next, despite the fact that majority of the respondents claim to be aware of the risks associated with improper e-waste disposal, including infection, many were unwilling to hand out their outdated mobile phone for recycling or destruction due to sentimental value and attachment to the device. This unfortunate scenario is made worse by lack of clarity in present regulation and framework for e-waste recycling and disposal, as well as the inconvenience nature of current e-waste collecting and disposal process. For this reason, the study suggests that the public education and sensitization of e-waste legislation and the danger posed by obsolete equipment be increased, so that all authorities and manufacturers can play their proper role in the elimination of e-waste. That's all from me. Thank you.